Chris. Killing me, Smalls.
You damn it.
No, you damn it.
You're the one who damns it.
You.
Nice.
Oh, so I finally cleaned out all of my comics. It turns out I had not filed comics away since June of 2018.
Jesus, that must have been a nightmare.
It was an endeavor, but you know what? I've been in a cleaning bug since I've had all this free time, and our house is pretty much immaculate right now, and I've kept it that way. And the one thing that was remaining that was such an eyesore was you open up the closet where I keep my comics, and it's like an avalanche of books. Remember how your house used to look?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that. So I did everything. I filed everything away. It's all in boxes and squared away on my checklist on my computer.
That's very good. I'm glad to hear it.
It was about a 10-hour undertaking, all said and done.
Well, but it needed to be done.
It did. It needed to be done, and it is done, and I feel real good about myself now.
I'm glad. And you shared that story with everyone.
What do you mean?
We've been live.
Oh, son of a bitch, Chris.
Well, everyone knows you're immaculate now.
Oh, you're such a jerk face.
Why? I want everyone to know how clean you are.
Can't even be mad at you. You know what? I'm proud of it. I've been cleaning real good lately. Our house is looking real nice.
I'm very proud of you. I also have been doing a lot of cleaning recently.
Yeah? I think the only thing I've left is wire management for my electronics.
I cannot get wire management down. I've watched so many tutorials, and it just looks like shit every time.
Every time. Like, I can get the twisty ties or whatever, but the second I need to move something, it's a nightmare.
I've got a box. I got a thing of twisty ties right here on this desk. I've tried to make it neat, and it looks just awful every time.
Yeah?
I hate it. I don't get it. I see all these minimalist profiles on Reddit.
Yeah.
And they make me want to just throw something.
Ugh. It makes me feel bad about myself. Like, how can these other people make their stuff look so good, and then I try, and you know what it's like? It's like, what's that baking show? It's called Tried It or something, or Nailed It?
Nailed It.
Yeah, it's like that, where I see someone else do it, and their wires and electronics and their entertainment centers look fucking on point, and then I try it, and it's basically like that. I present it to the judges, and they just look at me and be like, really?
Or they start laughing at you, which is even worse.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's implied, Chris. That's a given.
Sure. Yeah. One day we'll get it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows, my brother?
I really doubt it. So, Matt.
What?
The Endgame is nigh.
Endgame is nigh. I'm almost scared to have this episode up because I've been so good about avoiding the internet.
Yes.
I have had more. I for the first time in my history of Twitter, I have employed filters and muted words. So I don't know if there's been discussion of it on my Twitter feed because I have avoided it. I have not gone on Facebook. I have made the point of not making any tweets or posts about it because nothing invites trolls to jump in your mentions and spoil it than them searching a phrase and seeing your name pop up. Like, that's a thing people do. They'll just drive by randos. So I've been good. I don't know anything. I have not read any of the reviews. I don't know anything about Endgame.
So I know about as much as you know, although I haven't muted anything because, I'm an old man and I just have no time for muting. But thankfully, everyone I know and everyone on my Twitter has been held to the, no, we're not going to fucking spoil Endgame. That's a shit thing to do.
Yeah, so my local comic book guy, the owner of the comic book store that I now frequent in not New Orleans.
Yeah.
He had it spoiled last week.
Oh, no.
And you know how? He didn't go looking for it. He did not try and watch that leaked clip from the Middle East that shows the entire third act of the film. You know how it was spoiled? He was on a Game of Thrones fan page, and the first posts of the new episode discussion were screen caps from the leaked footage.
What the fuck?
Just people being true dicks. Be like, oh, all these people excited about Game of Thrones. Well, guess what? Endgame spoilers. So he got it spoiled, and he has not told a soul because he's like, no one should have to suffer like I did.
That reminds me, I was working at a big chain bookstore when Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows came
Oh
out.
no.
And I stayed up. I worked the midnight launch, midnight till about 3 a.m. I went to a bar and then I stayed up all night reading it. So I couldn't get spoiled. Because I knew if I waited, it wasn't going to happen. But a guy that I went to school with, who also worked at the bookstore, had it spoiled within 20 minutes of his shift.
Was it the one where the person drove by?
No.
Okay.
No, it was literally like he was working the customer service counter, and they were trying to help, and the customer just blurted out something about the book.
Ah, you know what that reminds? Someone did a thread on Twitter, like a general question to everyone, to be like, answer. What has been your worst encounter with spoilers? And someone said that someone brought up Snape killing Dumbledore on a first date, like within the first 3 days of the book coming out.
Wow.
And he was 200 pages from the end.
Oh my God.
Oh, right? Like that one just hurts. But you know what? We're talking Endgame today. And by that, I mean, since we haven't seen it and we don't want to know anything about it, we're talking the long, miraculous road of the MCU leading up to Endgame. Now, recently we have done the Stan Lee episode talking just about the cameos.
And we did when we ranked the movies that were out.
Yes, and we did. Did we rank them?
Yeah, we ranked them. Remember?
Okay. Do we have our rankings somewhere listed?
No, hold on. I had to wipe my computer the other day, so I might still have it.
Well, point is, today's just going to be a nice informal discussion of what the last 10 years have meant to us, our favorite highlights of each film, and just the sheer, like, right nowadays, Chris, I think it's fair to say that Marvel movies are a staple of our pop culture and our cultural zeitgeist. But back in 2008, when Iron Man hit, like, that was not the case. Superhero movies were starting to grow, but the whole interconnected world had never been done. And it wasn't until Nick Fury stepped out of the shadows and that everything just changed.
Yeah, it's something that I think will be really interesting for future generations who have not watched this organically grow. Because they won't understand the trepidation every movie has brought. Like, is this the movie that will kill superhero movies? Is Guardians of the Galaxy too weird for theaters?
Sorry, hold on. I'll wait till you finish your thought, and I'll tell you why I immediately started laughing.
No, and it's just one of those things where we're looking at the Marvel Cinematic Universe now, and it's an obvious, like, oh yeah, of course, it is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We didn't get a name for this until 7 movies in.
Yeah,
it's insane, and good on Disney for taking long shots with characters that were not traditionally popular. Because we have to remember, back in 2006, Iron Man was not the Iron Man that we would get to know in the comics.
Right. Like, that's what people don't realize. Iron Man, before the MCU started, like, people don't realize that Marvel was struggling because all of their best characters, they had licensed out to other companies. Sony and Fox had all of their best characters. Spider-Man, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, like, the characters people knew. And all they had left were these weird C and, like, B at most and C-listers that, sure, diehard comic book fans knew, but were never on the name recognition scale of your Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. And then they took what they had and they turned it into gold. And now people know who Iron Man is more than they know who the Fantastic Four are. And that just wasn't the case. Like, more people now can quote the origin stories of relatively obscure Marvel characters that 10 years from now people would have been like, I'm sorry, there's a talking tree? Like, what?
Yeah. I was thinking about this and DC did it in a smaller form because the only other comparison is like Green Arrow.
Right.
And DC took a shot on Green Arrow on a small scale on television, and that was wildly successful too. But yeah, the Marvel Universe, we've heard rumors. If you read Wizard magazine, we heard rumors about they're definitely, absolutely making a Thor movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Thor.
Yeah.
And that was the talk for a long time, and we were like, no, that could be cool, I guess.
Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, I don't even know who Thor is, except he was that guy that was in that one cartoon. Because they're Marvel, like, if it wasn't Spider-Man or X-Men, the general public did not know who these people were.
They didn't have like the cultural
impact.
Yeah.
Also, Kugasu just joined us in chat.
Hey.
So Josh lied to us, and he couldn't make this episode, and Doug had family issues. So the special topic I had planned for tonight is being pushed back, and we figured what better time to talk about Endgame than now. So we're going over like how different the world was at this moment for Marvel 10 years ago. Like,
and pop culture, because also you have to remember at that point, superheroes, we had come out of the X-Men movies, the most popular of those times, and they were black leather, and Spider-Man was in the Tobey Maguire verse, and
right.
It was so...
You know what? Here it is. I pulled it up, Chris. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Before Iron Man, this is what we had for Marvel.
Okay.
And obviously the big ones, the Spider-Man trilogy and the X-Men trilogy, were the ones people thought of when they thought comic book movies.
We really thought X-Men was the best it was going to get.
Exactly. Hold on. Okay. So we have I'm going to start it at the one that started it all, okay?
Yeah, which we both agree is
1998's Blade.
Yeah. We've come to the same conclusion that Blade is the atom to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah. What's up, Glorious War?
Hey. Because if Blade isn't successful, then other things don't get made that don't lead to...
And how weird is that Blade, of all films, and it's because it was a movie that could pass as not being a comic book movie.
Because and it's really not a comic book movie at all.
Exactly. But the thing is, in the 90s, we were still in that weird cultural thing where, like, in video games and comics were like strictly like a terrible thing to admit. And there was no money in it. But then Blade came out and kind of blew it away. And X-Men 2 years later, I believe, and I think it'd be hard to disprove that it was a direct relation to Blade's success. And so and here's this era was rife with like good ones and then ones that were so bad you're like, there's no way these will ever work. Because after Blade and X-Men, Blade 2 was a really solid sequel. Then we got Spider-Man, and you could think nothing could go wrong. And then we got X2, and you're like, oh my God, like nerds are starting to finally like have their moment. Like this is when the Star Wars prequels were happening. Like nerd culture was having a resurgence.
And Lord of the Rings. Don't forget Lord of the Rings.
Glorious War says he has watched Avengers Endgame. Well, we would very much like you not to tell us anything about it.
Please don't.
So, but going into it, then we hit this weird period where we get Daredevil featuring Ben Affleck.
Which I like, but is kind of gross.
Then we get Ang Lee's Hulk,
which I haven't seen.
And then we get The Punisher, which I absolutely love. Thomas Jane's Punisher is way better than it has any right to be. 100%. Absolutely dig it. What's his face? John Travolta is the bad guy. Just a delight.
I haven't seen that in a long time, so I'm not gonna.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not a good movie, but I really enjoy it. But the point is, we were like entering this weird period, and then we got Spider-Man 2, which crushed everything. But then we got Blade Trinity, Elektra, Fantastic Four, X3, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3, and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer all in a row. We had 4 years of objectively mediocre to bad superhero movies, and you really thought, like, where we go from here?
Elektra is one of 3 movies I've fallen asleep in the theater for.
Elektra was bad.
I fell asleep somewhere when she met Goran Vishnik from ER, and then I woke up at the end with Typhoid Mary.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, I don't care.
And see, you have to understand, at this same time, during that 4-year period, DC was giving us V for Vendetta, Batman Begins, Superman Returns, Dark Knight, and in that same 4-year period. So yeah. DC was like showing us how it could be done. And I feel like DC's success in that weird 5-year span is the reason DC is struggling now, because they were not able to adapt.
Yeah, so that's kind of a weird thing, because the Batman trilogy, the Nolan trilogy, it's an incredible film trilogy. Superman Returns is a little too slavish to the Richard Donner movies.
Correct.
And it's not. And while we really like Brendan Routh now, he wasn't the right guy for Superman at that point.
No, I remember being like, I was not expecting a Superman movie to be that boring.
Yeah,
I remember that one scene in the trailer where he gets shot in the eye by the Gatling gun, and it's so cool, and you're like, oh my god, and that's the only action in like the whole movie.
The coolest moment of that movie is when he stops that airplane from crashing, and it's incredible, and I wanted more of it, but he's actually just being a weirdo the whole movie.
And then Cyclops steals your girl. I don't know. Point is, we were in a weird point of movies at the time where the clear king was DC, and mostly because of the Batman trilogy at that point.
Sure.
Because they were also about to release some true stinkers like Jonah Hex and Green Lantern back to back. But in 2008, and circling back to where we started on this conversation, is that Marvel at this time was stuck with characters most people didn't know, that even in the comics were B and C listers. Like, yeah, they made up the Avengers, but no one was clamoring at the time to see Scarlet Witch or Hawkeye on the big screen. Iron Man was kind of like an afterthought for the most part, especially in most people's eyes. And then they do the most genius bit of casting and cast a real life washed out playboy that was struggling for redemption, and Robert Downey Jr. gets cast as Tony Stark. And I remember that moment being one of the most like slap your forehead, oh my god, of course, casting moments of all time.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall back to 2006, 2007, when Robert Downey Jr. was announced as Tony Stark. And I remember my initial thought being like, that's interesting. I would not have predicted him to be a superhero.
Yeah.
But we were all, like, collectively, we were all like, okay, he's had some struggles, so he's going to be a good struggling Tony Stark. And
this is amazing. I literally just typed in, Chris?
Yeah.
Sorry. I literally just typed in reactions to RDJ's Iron Man.
Yes.
And someone has compiled, in 2017, they went back to 2006 and compiled a list of internet forum posts about him. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
I just don't see him playing Iron Man. He's a good creative actor, but I just don't see him being anything good enough for Tony Stark. Yeah, I'm not too big on this one. Guess they picked him because of his alcoholism. I guess maybe he can relate. And then, isn't Downey just a huge drug addict? He's supposed to be a bigger alcoholic. Oh my god, like, all people are talking about is, oh, Downey's too old. He's about to hit his 40s, right? And it's like, oh, they should have cast him someone younger. And then they named someone that I think was on some soap opera.
What's the name?
I don't know. They named the character. I don't know. Point is, this is just pages of people doubting him.
Yes, this is important because this is the legislation that you and I have enacted, the Heath Ledger law, Heath Ledger's law.
Heath Ledger's law, yeah. It's you cannot quote anybody until you cannot judge any casting until you at least have seen the trailer.
And even then, you can't really condemn them until you've seen the movie. Because even after we saw the trailer, we thought Heath Ledger was going to be kind of weird, but not great. And then, whoopsie doodle, he just does the best performance of all time.
Yeah, like oopsie daisy. Now he's a hallmark of which all other Jokers will forever be judged.
Yeah.
All I remember when he was cast was people making Brokeback Batman jokes.
Oh God, yeah, that was
because people were like, "What's the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain doing as the Joker?" Like people don't understand, I guess. And to be fair, we were part of it. We were down on him. We were, and that's why afterwards we made that pact. We do not judge.
It's our own version of the Brady Bill. We were wrong. We pushed it through. We pushed it through our Congress.
All right, so Chris.
Yeah.
It's 2008.
Yeah.
Iron Man has just come out. The credits roll, and motherfucking Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson steps out and says, "I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." Who knew that one scene would, like, I know this is going to sound hyperbolic and ridiculous, but change the world. Like,
no, it did. Because
the world we live in now is so different than 10 years ago, and a big part of it is the cultural impact Marvel's had.
And if you need to look, go to Wikipedia for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and look at the combined gross of every Marvel movie. That's not a number to sneeze at.
Well, it's not even how successful they are. It's just how they've changed everything. Like we had this conversation. Like, what has changed people to be more accepting for nerd culture in the mainstream more? Was it the MCU or was it Game of Thrones? And either way you argue it, the point is both have. Both of those shows have completely changed the way people that 10 years ago would laugh at us for being excited to go to a midnight opening for a comic book movie to people that are lining up with us to get in line to that midnight opening for a comic book movie.
Yeah. And the most interesting thing is, and it's something that's almost impossible to believe now, the post-credit scene is not a thing.
That's true.
It was not a thing at that time. It rarely happened. So the first time they did it, I remember the first time was like, when you go see Iron Man, don't leave the theater.
Yeah, like it was a word of mouth thing and they were smart. They didn't do there was no second stinger at that time. It was after the animated credits, like the first roll of the credits is where they stuck it in. Because if they had waited until the very, very end, I don't think half as many people would have noticed.
Oh yeah, it was just, and it was just such a throwaway Avengers Initiative, and we had no idea what that meant.
I mean, like, we knew what it meant, but not like in comic book terms.
But remember, Cash Mine back then is like, we want to talk about the Avengers Initiative, like oh my God, who's going to be in it? Are we going to get Hawkeye as the leader?
Right.
Like, and we were woefully unprepared, and then they go forward with Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. That is a fine movie. It's the one that gets forgotten the most.
Well, yeah, because recaps.
Because the MCU was so new at that time that if Robert Downey Jr. hadn't showed up in the movie, it could easily not have been part of it.
True, and it especially because just like the Terrence Howard swap, the Edward Norton swap could have just been a sign of just a whole new Hulk, a whole new canon Hulk take. But they just rolled with it. But it was the first sign that they were truly connecting all these films. And unlike DC's films at that time, you got the sense that you no longer could miss one. Because you didn't know what would tie in. You didn't know who would cameo. It became an excitement thing. Like, what is this movie going to lead into? What is it going to hint? And that was the thing that these comic book movies did not have beforehand. Like, it went from, I don't really care about the Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Yeah, but how's it fucking going to tie into the Avengers? Like, now I got to check out this talking raccoon movie.
Yeah, and the first phase of the MCU it went off without a hitch. You know, Captain America, the first Avenger, the first Thor.
Yeah.
Everything leading up to Avengers 1, Joss Whedon's
Avengers 1. It was super safe. Like, it was Iron Man, Hulk, questionably, Iron Man 2, and then Thor and Captain America.
So, and Iron Man 2 brought us Black Widow.
And Hawkeye. No, Thor brought us Hawkeye.
Hawkeye was in Thor.
Yeah.
That first Captain America movie, you and I have an odd experience with that movie.
That was less. I've realized it's less the fault of the movie and more the fault that we saw it at midnight at San Diego Comic-Con after a 12-hour day of running around in the heat and being ridiculous.
Also a little wasted, I think.
A little wasted. We were tired, so we didn't get our full attention.
Which I've gone back and rewatched it, and I like it. But that first viewing has always put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I fell asleep during it. It must have been the movie's fault. Can't have been my fault.
Yes, not I, said the fly.
Not I, from running around beautiful, sunny San Diego, California.
Oh man, how good was that?
It was great. But the first Avengers movie, it did a lot of things. It proved that you could build a superhero team movie out of other movies.
Yep.
It brought Joss Whedon back to prominence.
For as long as that took.
Well, I mean, it did. What he did with it, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But but I think everyone was really pleasantly surprised that Avengers went as well as it did.
And then Avengers came out, and it was a true spectacle of a film. Like, very few movies get this kind of lead up that, sure, other movies can have the marketing push, but it was very rare that that was not society or the culture, but the audience responded in such a way. Like, it was unthinkable. They had spent 5 movies building up to a crossover film, which had never been done before. And then it blew people away. It was just so well done. And that panning circular shot of the team during the fight.
Hero shot.
Yeah, is probably one of the most iconic it's up there in one of the most iconic shots in film, especially in an action film.
Yeah, and honestly, if the MCU had ended there, I think I would have been pretty happy. But
they didn't.
They sure didn't. They kept going, and they got bigger and weirder, and they kind of took chances that I would not have predicted. I mean, yeah, Edgar Wright's Ant-Man would have been something very special, but the Ant-Man movie we got is not bad.
And you know what's crazy, and I think a lot of people don't give them credit for this, is I think Fox stepped their game up because of the strength of the MCU, and so did other companies. Like, superhero movies in general got better because of what Marvel was doing. Now, DC has finally found their footing, but around this time they were not having a good time. During the phase of this phase 1 of the MCU, DC released Watchmen, Jonah Hex, Green Lantern, and The Dark Knight Rises, which, while a good film, most people will agree is the weakest of the Batman trilogy. And then we got Man of Steel, which...
very divisive.
Man of Steel and then Batman versus... well, no, we got that 3 years later. But Man of Steel was divisive, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's very controversial. I don't really want to delve back into it.
Yeah, that's not the focus of this one.
It's not my favorite version of Superman, and I think the changes that they made do a disservice to Superman.
However,
not as a Superman purist.
Phase 2, Chris.
Yeah.
So please.
No. And another thing we didn't talk about is that towards the end of Phase 1, DC bought Marvel. I'm sorry, Disney bought Marvel.
DC bought Marvel? That's a twist.
Disney bought Marvel.
Marvel for what was it, $2 billion?
I'm sorry?
$2 billion?
I think it was 4.
I thought that was
Star Wars around that point, so it was either 2, 4, or 6.
No. Oh shit! It was $4 million. 4.2 million.
Billion
is what I meant. And then Disney paid another $4 billion for Star Wars.
Yeah, that was a real good investment on their part.
It sure as fuck was.
Like I remember everyone's like, oh, that's so stupid. And then they're sitting there on their golden thrones that every executive gets, and they're just like, "Who's idiot now?"
Well, so Chris,
Yeah,
by the time Phase 2 started,
yeah.
we the audience pretty much knew what to expect, and they were all in. You at this point, you were either in for the MCU or you weren't yet.
Well, and also at this point, there was the giddiness of the first successful Avengers, and then there was the thought of, oh God, how long can this go? How long until we as a society turn on these?
Yeah, that's when you started getting all the think pieces about when will the comic book movie burst, the comic book bubble burst.
Because at this point, as Marvel is successful, like you said, everyone else is pumping out superhero movies, much in the same way as in the early 2000s when Harry Potter was successful. Literally every young adult franchise was turned into a movie.
You're right. Who doesn't remember the greatness of Aragon?
That's another one of the movies I slept through.
Oh, Aragon. All right.
Terrible.
You know what I've realized by looking through this list? Phase 2 holds one of my favorite of the entire MCU, but as a whole is probably my least favorite phase. And that is driven primarily by Thor: The Dark World being the worst Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And Iron Man 3 being personally hated very strongly by myself.
I like Iron Man 3 a lot. I think it's kind of fun. Thor: The Dark World is garbage.
And then upon rewatching, Avengers: Age of Ultron is easily the weakest mainline team up film.
You know what it is? It is the Transformers Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, no, not Dark of the Moon. That one was the good one.
Well, sorry. So what was the second one? Right, Revenge of the Fallen.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's the Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah. We're on a rewatch because I remember watching it with my parents when it released on video, like on Blu-ray, and I brought it to their house because they hadn't seen it yet. And we're watching it, and I'm like, "Wow, this one is not too good." When you know what's happening.
Yeah, and it's weird because they also had all the drama about another Quicksilver. That, guess what? They fucking killed him.
Yeah.
So it was all pointless.
The Winter Soldier is phenomenal. Winter Soldier alone elevates Phase 2. And then Guardians, I think, is one of the biggest surprises in comic book history.
Movie history, because you take a movie with people that no one outside of the hardcore know.
Like, even we barely knew who they were.
At that point, the Guardians run by Abnett and Lanning, that had been finished for about 8 years, conservatively. Yep. After War of Kings, War of Kings.
Yeah,
with Vulcan. So, I guess this was kind of an odd choice.
I remember just thinking that was the moment. Like that if Guardians had been a flop, I think we would have seen this bubble burst a long time ago. But Guardians was that litmus test with Marvel going and Disney going, if we can make this a success, and they put a lot of effort into it. The all-star casting, the trailers that I elevated the humor of it. Like, you knew what we were going to get, even if we didn't know the characters.
The revelation of Batista as an actor.
Right? But also, I think the allure that really pushed a lot of people to see it before word of mouth kicked in was people going, how is this going to tie into Avengers?
Yeah, and this is where the kind of experimentation, because they gave it to James Gunn, who at that point was, kind of a schlocky horror guy with Slither and
what was it, the tire movie?
No, it was Super.
Oh, is it okay?
And they gave him this big budget Marvel Hollywood spectacular, and he crushed it.
Yeah, it was Super. Okay, just double checked.
Yeah.
But yeah, he crushed it. And here's the thing I was laughing about earlier, Chris.
Yeah.
Is so the Daily Show just put out a video with Roy Wood Jr. where in 4 minutes he recaps every movie going ahead of Endgame. In not actual recap ways. And he gets to Guardians of the Galaxy, he's like, this was Disney testing us. This was Marvel going, we know you like Iron Man, what about a talking raccoon in a tree? And then he gets to Guardians 2 and is like, now at this point, DC is still deciding who's going to play Batman. Meanwhile, Marvel decided to give you a second Raccoon and Tree movie, and it did $2 billion.
Yeah, I talk about this. Every year, my expectation of like what can't possibly be in a movie is shattered.
Like it's out the window now. Everything that we would have said, because you have to remember, we grew up like. At the start of this era, X-Men was the gold standard. And X-Men was like, we can't have comic book super suits because they look silly. Everyone's going to wear black leather and look like cool. And now we are getting Hela's dumbass headdress from Thor Ragnarok. We're getting Mysterio's dumb helmet in Spider-Man Homecoming. We got Shazam in every aspect of his ridiculousness. We got Mr. Mind, the talking telepathic worm in Shazam.
I mean,
there's so many
Ego
moments.
the Living Planet.
Yeah, Ego the Living Planet. And then Groot and all of the Guardians. Like everything that 10 years prior would have on paper been laughed out of the room if someone had suggested putting it in, like focus groups. I can just see an exec going at a focus group and be like, I'm sorry, you want to make a movie about what?
What, the Living Planet?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
But now it just doesn't matter. Now being more comic accurate is something that they're striving for. And I just never thought we'd get to this point in our lives. And
I'm still stunned we have not gotten Fin Fang Foom in a movie.
Oh, Chris. Give it time, baby.
Beyond words.
Iron Man 4, featuring the true Mandarin, and he summons Fin Fang Foom. You know what, Chris? If this Godzilla King of the Monsters movie blows up and is a huge success, Marvel's going to bring Fin Fang Foom in with the quickness.
I can't wait. Yeah, but Phase 2 had the highest highs and the lowest lows. True. And Age of Ultron, is not great.
But man, Phase 3 is very long, but my God, has it been really good. Like I'm looking at the list, and it goes Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and Wasp, Captain Marvel, and unless Endgame shits the bed, there is not an objectively bad movie in that bunch.
No, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird that Phase 3 has gone on as long as it has and has been mostly successful. I think everyone's kind of found their niche. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Holy crap!
What?
Sorry, I just realized something, that actually Phase 3 is is actually shorter than Phase 1 was. We're just getting more movies per year, 2 to 3 movies a year instead of the 1 a year we were getting in Phase 1.
Oh, okay.
Because Phase 1 was Iron Man in 2008. Avengers was 2012.
Right.
So when Iron Man and Hulk in 2008, 2 years went by until Iron Man 2. Thor was 2011. Captain America ended 2011. Avengers was 2012. Whereas we've gotten 2 movies in 2016, 3 movies in 2017, and 3 movies in 2018. So while it feels like a longer one in terms of the scope of the films, timeline-wise, it's actually shorter than Phase 1 of all things.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's crazy.
But looking at Phase 3, I think the one that I was most concerned about was Doctor Strange.
Yes.
So I wasn't quite sure how they were going to pull that off. Excuse me. And then Doctor Strange turned out to be maybe not the best movie, but the most visually interesting movie.
Yeah, I'd say it was also the safest film.
It was very similar to the first Iron Man.
Yeah, the parallels. It was basically a magical Iron Man's origin story.
Yeah. But Benedict Cumberbatch has been so good as Stephen Strange in other things, like Ragnarok and Infinity War itself.
Right.
So that's kind of a win. And Black Panther has brought them prestige.
Prestigals?
Yep. Captain Marvel has brought them universal praise. Guardians 2 gave everyone a bunch of feels.
Let me tell you, Captain Marvel got them praise and got them some bank. It's one of the fastest movies to gross $1 billion for Marvel.
It's incredible. So and now Infinity War was kind of this big furniture moving movie, which is a phrase I saw on Twitter of everyone getting into position for Endgame.
Oh, okay.
So like not a lot happens, but everyone's primed for Endgame.
I like it.
And I like Infinity War a lot. It's a lot of nothing, but I like it.
No, but see, that's the thing. Is like the most eye-rolling thing comic fans complained about after Infinity War was, oh, but no, we're gonna stay dead. I'm like, no shit. That's not the point. It doesn't lessen the impact of the film.
No.
Like it does. Knowing that they had already scheduled Spider-Man: Homecoming to come out 2 months after Endgame didn't stop the feels of "I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark" from like hitting you when you're in that theater.
That scene almost makes me cry every time.
Like it doesn't matter that logically, comic book logic's going to catch up, and most of these people are going to come back. Like we don't know, is it going to be a trade-off? Are we going to lose the original people whose contracts are running up to trade their lives with the Soul Stone? I have no idea. But the point is, it doesn't. People complaining about comic book logic in these movies as a reason to tear them down are completely missing the point.
Yeah, and I'll bring up the argument that I make a lot is that you can't really hold reality to these movies because they're so unrealistic that you kind of just have to let them go.
There's a certain level of suspension of disbelief that you think should be understood.
Dude is in a robot suit fighting a giant alien with a metal glove.
It's fine.
It's fine. If they want to get if they want to do whatever to bring if Spider-Man's going to come back and he is, like, who cares? It's fine.
You know what would be a huge twist, and I really hope Glorious War doesn't tell us in the comments. Yes. JK, I don't think they will. But if we find out that Homecoming actually took place before Infinity War, and he actually is still dead, and it was all just a big play on fan expectations,
that'd be something.
I'm just saying that'd be pretty. Like Homecoming starts and it goes like 2017 like scrolls across.
Yeah, no, I think that would be something. I don't know that it's going to happen because I think they want to. You got to milk the Tom Holland tree until he's old enough to not want to do it anymore. Okay,
hey, we got a question from Glorious War here.
Sure.
What's your favorite MCU, and what would you say is the weakest? Because I think for me right now, it's so easy to say the weakest. The weakest to me is Thor: Dark World by far.
Yeah, I found the list we made of the movies.
Okay.
As a group, we voted the bottom three of Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk, and Thor: The Dark World.
Yeah.
And as for the top three, we voted at the time Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, knowing that, so this was before Ant-Man and Wasp, or was this after Ant-Man?
Before Ant-Man and Wasp, before Captain Marvel.
Okay, so Ant-Man and Wasp is on the list?
Ant-Man and Wasp is not on the list.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So we have not added those two. Do you want to?
Infinity War is not on the list.
Do you want to add them?
Well, I mean, we'll sure try to squeeze them in.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Well, anyway, so Chris, what is your personal least favorite? Let's answer the question.
My personal least favorite is Thor: The Dark World. I cannot stand it. I hate it.
Thor: The Dark World is bad.
It's bad. And they made the mistake of turning Chris Hemsworth impossibly charming, impossibly charismatic, and possibly funny into dour Thor.
Yeah.
That is just not what I'm here for.
You know what? I will give Thor: The Dark World credit for one thing and one thing only.
Is it the one good scene in the movie?
No, it's the fact that it was probably so bad and people's reaction to dour Thor so severe that we got the exact opposite end of the spectrum with Thor Ragnarok.
That's
I think
true.
Thor Ragnarok was a direct result and reply for fans of Thor: Dark World disappointment.
I think that's fair.
So thinking about it, I will give that is the only good thing I will ever say about the Thor: Dark World, and also Kat Dennings just being adorable.
Yeah, I'm sad she's out of the MCU.
Yeah, like losing Jane Foster, like I love Natalie Portman, but she didn't really do a whole lot in the movies. But losing her snarky best friend with all the witty takes, that one hurt.
You know what? Natalie Portman is to Jane Foster as Jennifer Lawrence is to Mystique. She's just getting less and less involved in those movies. That makeup is not on there as long.
Yeah.
And as we see in the trailers for Phoenix, she's getting got in the first couple of minutes.
Yep.
So she could get the fuck out of those movies.
She's like, I am done.
I have an Academy Award. I am out of here.
It's fine.
It's fine. She definitely outgrew her weight class in that.
Now, Chris.
Yeah.
Let's answer his other question, or their other question.
Yeah.
Favorite. This is a lot harder.
I'm sorry?
This is a lot harder of a question.
It is, but my favorite, one of the few that I actually own, because I don't own them. I'm waiting for like a nice box set to come out. The one that I own that I like the most is Winter Soldier.
Yep. I was actually going to say that's still. I'm now torn between like Winter Soldier and some of the newer ones, but there's just something so good. Winter Soldier stands alone as also just a really good spy movie.
Yes, it has my favorite scene of Captain in the elevator, which I think is still yet to be taken down.
Okay.
And everything else just kind of works about it. I think it's really incredible. My number 2 is Black Panther, which was pretty fresh at the time. I don't know if Black Panther's still like top 5. I don't know that it's number 2 anymore, especially considering what's come out since then.
Yeah, it's gonna be it'll be interesting. I'm really looking forward to revisiting our timeline after Endgame.
Yeah.
The Glorious War said they have so many questions and thought about us after watching Endgame. Well, you know what? On next week's episode, we will be fully having an Endgame discussion. So ask away. I can't wait to hear what the questions are. Next Wednesday. I'm excited because the other 2 will be joining us, and they will have seen it over the weekend as well. So we'll have a 4-panel group, all just hopefully gushing about it. Fingers crossed.
They better.
Well, Chris,
yes.
Leading into Endgame, are there any final thoughts you have?
My main final thought is that this movie is going to make me ugly cry at least once.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how, and I don't know what's going to happen. But I saw the most recent trailer in front of Shazam when I went to go see Shazam again, and that whatever it takes thing, that got me hard.
Yeah. First of all, Shazam is probably one of the best DC movies I've ever seen.
It is my favorite DC movie, ahead of the Nolan Batmans,
and I know a big part of that is because we were such fucking nerds for Shazam as a character.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Shazam's one of my top 3 characters. So,
like, imagine how I'd react if we got a good Booster Gold movie.
If you got a good Green Lantern movie,
I've given up on that. It's fine.
What happened to the common Green Lantern movie?
I don't know, Chris. Looks like you got a little uncommon.
Oh,
but no, I would love a Booster Gold time travel movie, and I would love it to be a fourth wall breaking comedy action movie, like kind of like Deadpool, where he could act as like DC's Deadpool. I want him to go back in time and try and fix the continuity of the bad DC movies.
That could be fun. I don't think that that Warner Brothers and DC have enough of a sense of humor about themselves to go back to their past mistakes.
They don't. But Fox Fox sure did, and it paid off really well with Deadpool 2.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts of Deadpool 2.
But yeah, so that about wraps it up for our pre-Endgame.
I have a final question.
Okay, hit me.
Over under 5 in characters that are dead and never coming back.
Under 5, but more than 3. I'm saying 3 to 4.
Okay, so 3 to 4.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take the over. I think I'm going to go for 6.
Really?
I think so.
Now, are these going to be characters we care about, or is it going to be like Maria Hill? Because yes. I'm talking, okay, like card-carrying members of the Avengers superhero team or Guardians. Like,
then at that point, I think it's like 4.
Okay.
But I do think like some supplemental characters.
Oh yeah, they'll be gone. Like who even knows? I'm just excited.
Did you happen to see that that Shuri just found out that she was snapped?
No, like she didn't know ahead of time.
She didn't know until she saw the post. Or was like, "Oh shit, I guess I'm dead."
Oh, womp womp.
That is fucked up.
Now that might not be true. They just said that she's missing, but then
she's in gray, so she's.
Oh yeah. Oh, the movie poster. I thought you meant in the trailer when she's listed holographically as one of the missing.
Oh no, the grayed out.
Okay, yeah, womp womp. Okay.
Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Oh, poor Shuri. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you, guys, for tuning in.
Yes.
And I wait. We are Chris. 21 hours, and 20 hours and 45 minutes. It will be starting for me.
You will be finishing up. I will not be seeing it until Saturday morning.
And I'm going to try so hard not to immediately text you with spoilers. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yes. All right. So next week, we will have survived the snapping, and we will have fixed it.
You know what? You saying that dumb word just made me think how much of a crime it is that Disney did not partner up with fucking Snapple to make Thanos-themed drinks leading up to Endgame.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just saying. Missed opportunity. Yeah. Missed opportunity.
It's not. It's not. It's fine.
It is. No. Okay. This is why more people should have me on their merchandising and marketing teams, because I come with the good ideas.
Yeah. Find Matt on LinkedIn.
I'm just saying, Chris, tell me that you would not buy a bottle of Snapple just because the fucking bottle is Thanos snapping and it comes with a code for digital bullshit. I don't know.
I absolutely would not, because I hate Snapple.
No, it doesn't matter. That's not the point.
No, it does matter. I'm not buying a drink.
Oh my God, Chris, got it. And under the cap, instead of a Snapple fact, it tells you if you've been snapped or not. Oh, 50-50 chance to survive your snappling. Come on!
Pretty good. That's pretty good. But I hate Snapple. So
I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. All right.
Peace out.
Later, guys.
Damn it, that's so good. I'm proud of myself.